In the external world, there is just so much fear. And so many people are so defensive. You know, we have a mask, we put our defense up, and we don't really give ourselves the opportunity to really express. We're always a little bit hesitant, a little bit shy. And then we see life through maybe a mask or an energy that is not authentic. And I was just talking to somebody the last few days who I see as, you know, beautiful woman. She's really spiritual, she's very connected, and she's so sensitive. And I see that, just put on my Facebook page today, that in truth our vulnerability is our strength. And so many people work to try and protect this. And I say to people, look, just be vulnerable and be yourself, because when you are that authentic and that rock bottom honest, what can anyone do to you? They can't do anything to you that unless you basically allow them in. So, when I thought a little bit about what I wanted to teach here, I thought about value, because for me, value has to start with love. It has to start with love, and it has to start with compassion for ourselves. Because all of us, me included, okay, we're so hard on ourselves. We work so hard, we require a certain level of perfection of ourselves that it's impossible to deliver, because we ourselves move the goalposts all the time. And, you know, it would be so much simpler in terms of life if we could just focus on one or two things. And the one or two things would be more about being rather than about doing. Who you be in that moment is your value. Because whatever we do, whatever we're stressing out about, whatever we're afraid of, it's not permanent. It doesn't last. You know, it's like if you could think back to October last year, what were you stressing out about? What were you worried about this time last year? I bet you don't even remember. Either you don't remember specifics, or it's a thematic same old, same old. And if we just forgot about that, if we just remembered who we be, there's an old saying that goes around Facebook and the internet that says, you know, people remember you for who you be to them, what impact you have on them, more than they remembered what you've done. You always remember that primary school teacher who was nice, or that aunt who was nice, the little boy who was kicking you in the shins when you were 5. That's gone. And people do not, I feel, put enough value on who we be. We put too much value on trying to keep present what I call the impermanence. Right? We try to keep present material objects. And anytime we try to keep present material objects, it doesn't work. Because we're holding on something that is not intended to be permanent. And in focusing on something that is intended to be impermanent, we forget ourselves. And we forget that part of ourselves that is presence. We are not present in the present moment. And it's really, really important to remember that when we are being who we are, and we can look at that from many different levels. You can look at it from a human point of view, but how many people are really being human? How many people really allow themselves to experience their humanity? Very few. Right? They've been taught to put masks and have a specific way of relating. So if you look at the human part, and then you've got the spiritual part, and you know, many people here, Kamala is very special. People come for spirit, right? We come for detoxes, we come to rest, we come to de-stress, whatever, but it's a spiritual kind of a healing center. People come Otherwise they go to some spa to detox, right? Wouldn't come here. But they come here and increasing numbers because, first of all, your spirit is calling for something. Your spirit is usually calling for expression. Real expression of spirit is about real expression of ourselves. Hi, no problem. People come because the spirit needs expression, and the whole purpose of life is to bring the spiritual part of us in direct contact with the human part of ourselves. Any questions? Well, I'll pick on you.
I'm still digesting the vulnerability thing.
Okay, okay. What are you digesting specifically?
Just the fact that allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Yeah. If you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? Nothing. Basically nothing. Because what happens is that whatever people try to do, they do not try to do to you. It's about themselves. And you only allow it in when you hook into their stuff. You see. So if you allowed them their right of expression, I mean, if they're being a nauseating idiot in the moment, that's their right. You have a choice. Either you connect to that, or you don't.
How on earth do you learn not to connect with them?
Well, there are a lot of different ways, technologies or techniques that you can use. The main thing that people need to remember is that when anyone is having any kind of a hissy fit, as my daughter calls it, I think it's brilliant. When everyone's having any kind of a hissy fit, it's really about them. It's not about you. It becomes challenging when you engage, perhaps to explain. Explaining is the quickest form of engaging in what we call rubbish energy. You don't need to explain anything. Either it flows or it doesn't. But most people feel that we have something that we need to defend. And the thing that most of us need to defend, we believe, is our heart. And the heart is the seat of our soul. So you've got the human, the personality, seeking to defend the heart, which does not actually need to be defended, because the heart itself just is. The spiritual heart is just, it's busy being. You see the difference? You see how easy it is to look at someone and say, gee, you're having a really bad day, let's talk later. And withdraw. But most of the time we're trained, or we believe, that we need to take care of, we need to fix. And we let them fix themselves. That's power. It's spiritual power, because then you keep your own space around you clear. They get to do whatever they need to do in the moment by expressing whatever, and everyone wins. It's perfect, isn't it? It's brilliant. Isn't it? Love it. Anyway, your question.
No, I was just thinking about a finger reading twice in Kamaran.
Okay.
And for me, Kamaran is transformation.
Yeah, it is.
Every time I've been here for a special reason, and it's like...
It's a special place. I mean, Spirit is very present here in many different forms, you know, and Spirit does not just need to be, I mean, people say, oh, you know, she's spiritual. And I'm like, well, everyone is spiritual. What is Spirit? You know, in my last newsletter, I asked the question, what is Spirit? Spirit just is.
And I think it's a certain level of consciousness.
No, it just is. Everything is Spirit.
Yeah.
Anything that is Spirit. Spirit is what is within. And it can be conscious, or it can be, at that moment, unconsciously conscious. It's the space between the words. And, I say that people very often forget that we are all spiritual beings having a human relationship. Okay, we are not human beings all having a spiritual relationship. Everything is spirit. All the artwork that you see around here is spirit being expressed by the artist. He's expressing his inner being through his art. Any book is expressing the inner being, right? Kamalaya is expressing the inner being. And then not only does the spirit of Kamalaya come out to touch the ones, but each of you, each of us, come to give a piece of ourselves to grow that energy. That's spirit. Plants, flowers also are spirit. We've forgotten how to connect with them. I was teaching in Singapore 2 weeks ago. I mean, even in Hong Kong before that, everyone's sitting at lunch, whole families, lost that connection. Eye to eye, the eyes are the spirit looking out. It's the heart expressing. The voice is spirit expressing ourselves. It doesn't have to be vocal. It can just be a look of kindness, right? A look of light, compassion, understanding. All of that, people read. You read with your energy. You read with your own intuition. That's there for all of you. I've not met a single person who does not have any intuition. They've just switched it off. Or they've been taught not to believe in it. And our intuition is the only way that we connect with spirit, because it's a form of telepathy. Not, the way they do it in Star Trek or in Star Wars, but in a way that we feel. We all feel energy. Children feel energy. They feel energy before we teach them to stop feeling energy and start to think. Once you think, life becomes a strategic, logical process. And we forget how to feel. And we forget how important it is to say, right now, I feel whatever. Right now, how do you feel? One word.
Restless, actually. I've been restless all day.
Okay, so right now you feel restless. Fine. How do you feel? I feel relaxed. So everyone has their own connection with spirit. Spirit is formless. We all do our best to bring it into form. For me, the form of spirit is about being one with nature. It's about being one with the sunset and the sunrise, which we all love. Sunset and sunrise is not about the sun rising and sun setting and how beautiful it is. It's about the one that is observing it and being in peace with the moment. So spirit can be anything that you want. It can be anything that you want. For me, spirit is about compassion. It's about vulnerability. It's about the ability to speak truth or not. Sometimes we're just human. It's about those lovely human moments, and it's about those lovely moments of inner silence. Everything is appropriate and accurate because it comes through us. And it's ownership of that in terms of the love and the compassion that shifts the world over from overthinking and defensive behavior, which is what you're reading in the newspaper all the time, to a community of what I call wisdom stories, and expanded understanding. You see, that is what basically for me I've devoted my life to do, and that's why I say it's quite, for me, important to stay in touch if you want to, in terms of keeping an extended community of wise people who are not afraid to speak your truth. You're not afraid of being who you are, which is spirit, nature, human, beautiful women, beautiful man there, transparent, vulnerable. Nothing can happen to you. No one can do anything to you unless you allow them in. And value, if we could put value on just one thing, what would that be? If you could put value on one thing, what would that be? What would that be? Okay, health. What would that be? Life. Yeah, because everything is life. Everything is about life. But people are too afraid to live life fully. We're too afraid to embrace it.
Being authentic.
And what else? Why? In what other ways are people afraid to embrace life? They just live in fear all the time. What about you? If you had one word to define family, relationships. It's our relationship with each one that stems from our relationship with ourselves. Self-love? Self-love? Yeah, that's the basis. You can't love other people if you don't love yourself. You'd be doing love instead of being love. It's different.
No, I can say love, just love, generally.
Okay. Yeah, for me it's about love. It's about love, it's about relationships, because life is really about relationships. It's about our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with nature, our relationship with our jobs, our relationship with Kamalai, our relationship with our naturopath, our relationship with health. It's all about relationships, because you cannot have spirit if there's only one person present. There must be two. For the expression, one is the expression, the other receives the expression. Have to have two for spirit to be defined. Oh, that's nice. Any questions? Nice book. Any questions?
Love someone, or when you experience rejection, and that's the kind of pain, like when you wake up, someone has a broken heart.
Yeah. Broken hearts. Well, we all grieve when we come to the end of a relationship. When we come to the end of something, there's always a grieving of some sort. And the thing that I say to people is, the pain does not last forever. The body is not designed to hold on to pain unless we replay the video all the time. When relationships end, in life everything has a beginning and it also has a natural ending. That's life, that's material life. The only thing that does not have a beginning and an ending is spirit. Is your inner being, your core, your space, because that is what does not die. But anything on the human plane will end at some point, okay? And there will be natural grief. I always say to people, this too shall pass. And if we are able to accept that, for whatever reason, it's come to a natural end, and we're able to respect that and to honor that, it doesn't make the pain any less, but it mitigates it because we are at some stage able to move on. I've got on my YouTube channel a 15-minute video for closure. Usually there's not closure. When something happens like that level of pain, specifically for relationships, quick deaths or someone walking out of your life or whatever, we have to have closure in order to be able to move on. And the best way to have closure is for us to be able to express what we need to say, what we're thinking, how we're feeling to the other person. Often, if the other person's gone, then a good way of doing it is through what we call a soul-to-soul conversation, where you're able to express through a soul-to-soul. The other thing is to work with another person, healer. Healers, we hold space for energy to change, and we witness that pain, as soon as the pain is witnessed, it's able to be released because the person has been heard. They just need to be heard in order to effect closure. It's death, it's anything abrupt. Because when anything happens suddenly, you have, like between two people, you have a joint energy body. You've put energy from yourself to another person, mostly through chakras, but through many other things as well. A lot of it is shared memories. When something happens suddenly, that energy body is ripped, and so the energy leaks, and on a very deep level, that is what is causing a lot of pain. If we're able to close that energy leaking to create a form of fulfillment or completion, then the person is able to release much quicker and move on. Sometimes we have to look at the karma. It might be karma from a past life that's being relived. And once people know, once they own that knowing, it's much more easy to be able to move on, because when anything ends, it's intended. It's just that with most people, we're not taught to say goodbye in a very nice way. You know, we're not taught to be able to be authentic and honest and whatever. So the other one does feel pain. It's, you know, it's often like that. Not just on an individual level, but on cultural and national levels as well. It's all over the place. So value is about love. It's about gratitude of life, to be able to say thank you for that wonderful shared experience. I'm sorry it's over. That's the truth. But we've had what we've had. It's over because everything that has a beginning has an end. And I'm just going to turn my energy out, and I'm going to look towards my own future and leave clear space to see what's going to drop in. Because nature does not have nature abhors a vacuum. Never, if you have clear space, nature will put something in for you, you know, to experience, because that's what life is all about. It's about experiencing and growing through the experience. And the problem that we have is most of the media, Hollywood and whatever, has taken pain and has made a mass market industry out of it. You know, these movies that are inspirational are usually made by small art houses or disguised in, you know, well, these blockbusters have big spiritual messages, but they're disguised because, you know, people are addicted to pain, they're addicted to fear. It's something that we've been fed and taught is real. It's not, you know. So it doesn't deny or negate what each one is feeling, but it generally is for the short time. It doesn't have to be for the long term. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Shall we? Yeah.
About communication between the two. What if this communication keeps on breaking?
What, between two people? What if it keeps breaking? You mean one is not listening, or both are not listening?
Sometimes both are not listening. Or comprehending the other person.
Yeah, the problem I find with a lot of people, is that we're not taught to listen. We really listen to what the other's saying. We make assumptions. And listening is within itself a spiritual value, because when anyone is listening well, you're actually witnessing the experience of another, and it can become a deeply spiritual, experience, deeply spiritual experience. Even if you're two people in McDonald's having a cheeseburger or something, you have your own space because you're connected through the heart. Most people make assumptions, and then what happens is that you get into an energy, a pattern, and it's like, you know, your Sputnik up there, and you've got this orbit, and it just doesn't break. And energy can be the same. It just goes round and round, and two people feed into the same pattern. You've got to break the pattern. A soul-to-soul conversation is really good to be able to do that, because you're finding out from a very deep level what that other person is really thinking or considering, that they, for some reason, will not talk to you direct. And then to sit down and say, you know, we have a situation here, I feel this, I don't feel that, How do we resolve it together? And the 2 or 3 people sit down and, through will. Will is the male aspect of love. Love, expression, nurtures the female. You have to have male and female, right? So through will and through love and the communication, you create structures that you will hear and listen to each other. But, be aware it's a habit that you want to break. And both of you have to have awareness in order to do it. Yeah.
And women listen differently?
Yeah. Women listen most definitively to intimacy. Men listen to practicalities. So, sorry? Yeah. It's just, the brain, the minds are just wired differently. So women want to sit down and have a really good talk with the partner. And the minute she says, I feel like we've not as close as we used to be. And another woman would say, really? Tell me more. Right? And the man says, well, then we should do this, we should do this, and we should do this. And the woman's like, I don't want to go into practicalities on how to fix it. I need you to have a deep heart-to-heart with me. And the man will say, well, boys don't do heart-to-hearts. Boys want to go out and play together. They want to see who can be the highest up the tree. Girls don't do that. Girls sit down and have a glass of wine and they get into an intimate conversation. That's how girls do. And I always say to girls who come and talk to me about it, if you need a deep heart-to-heart, don't do it with your husband. Wrong person. Have these expectations. He's never going to meet it. Talk to your girlfriend. You will never get a man to do intimate. So lose that expectation. If you want to plan going off and doing things together, talk to your husband. They're the best. So once you understand that, then you lose that expectation, and then it becomes much easier because you don't have an expectation. So you just have a normal conversation. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's lovely. Life is just wonderful. Life is really, really good. Mm-hmm.
Just wondering what sort of definition of self-love, or if somebody's in love themselves enough, how they should love themselves, or how you go about doing that process.
I say to them that the word should does not exist except in other people's minds. So self-love is about having everything being okay whenever it happens. Right? Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't, and both times are fine. You have to remember the word whatever. So you did it, if you didn't do it, whatever. She said this to you, whatever. I did it, whatever. Everything is neutral. There's no expectation on yourself to be anything other than who you are in the moment. And so self-love perhaps would be more accurately defined as self-acceptance. Yeah. I mean, most of disease is caused by humanity striving for perfection that you already are. Really perfect in the moment. There's no, I mean, you can't be anything different. Neither can anyone else. You can offer advice, you can offer input, but all it is an offer. Because then if you can keep your own clear space, you offer it freely, but you don't attach to the outcome. You see, and life becomes immensely peaceful.
How to train yourself on detachment? How to train oneself on detachment?
The easiest way to do it's awareness. It's awareness is to say, oh, they're doing that. They are doing that. You have two choices. Either you engage or you don't. It's very simple. So if you're going to engage, you're aware of why you're engaging. And then if you choose not to engage, you're aware of why you're not engaging. It's the awareness. Both are fine depending on how you feel. You know, there are times where you're going to have to draw a line. You know, if energy goes like this, you've got to make a stop, right? You've got to have your own strategies for putting a stop. But people mostly get stuck in the small print. You know, no means no. No doesn't mean argue with me. No means no. If you have a problem with it, then you think about it. You know, talk to me when you come to a resolution. I'm too busy having a good time in the meantime. You know, require people to come to you as well. Especially if you want to bring change. And you know, to move from a very human, fear-based, protecting the vulnerability existence to a deeply wise, connected with your inner being, your heart, your will, all different parts of yourself. You're going to be breaking a lot of habits, a lot of patterns from other people. And when they see that you're creating change, they feel vulnerable. And the first thing they do is to hit out and try and bring you back to normal. So it requires compassion and understanding and awareness of what you are going to achieve, and communicating that to the people around you, that it is not something that they need to fear. So awareness every moment, that's why we call it presence. See, and if you're not aware for any reason you're tired, that's okay too. The moment after, you just pick it up again. You're not. Great.
How can I have that awareness?
Practice meditation, breath awareness, and just being present. Most people out there, they're living in the past or living in the future. Be present, listen. Be aware of what is the purpose. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to, who are you, what are you being at the moment? So when you are being peace, and you know you're being peace, and you want to stay in your peace, right, space, no one can pull you out of it without your agreement. And if they pull you out of it, it's fine. You didn't do anything wrong. Just bring yourself back in. Just take a deep breath. Yeah. Lovely. Should we do a meditation? Should we do a little meditation together? Yeah? Alright, close your eyes.